been talking about how social media giants are using their clout to reportedly take out their competition. Next, we'll speak with one social network founder about what kind of tactics he's had to deal with. Coming up on National Report.
Censorship is really about only individuals, but really, if you have a platform that doesn't meet with their political ideology, they actually go after you. We were using IBM as a hosting company for our video channels, and without any warning, and despite a contract that we have with them, they took down a number of our channels, silencing those channels' voices right after the election, actually.
Was it because some of the people who had used your product might have had certain political leanings or posts that they might have? Is that what you find to be the reason?
Yeah, what we felt was the common denominator was people that were criticizing the election. Even America Voice News, which is a national news organization, was taken down by IBM.
Okay, so clearly, news and politics as well, but only certain news organizations who receive this sort of censorship. And Aaron, I've seen you're on social media. I'm not sure perhaps if you've been fact-checked by Twitter recently, but we've seen conservative voices who have had Twitter restricting them from publishing. I recall the New York Post article who was locked out of their own Twitter account for, I think it was 14 days after releasing that Hunter Biden article. And we continue to see this, Aaron.
We do. And the Facebook, Instagram, and Twitters, even Google's of the world, I think that Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act does need to be changed. It's not fair that the New York Post or the Wall Street Journal is held to one standard, but the Twitters and Instagrams are not. They are not just farming out your information without thought or without prejudice. They are choosing and picking and changing content. So they really need to be legally liable and not have that Section 230 protection, because they're trying to shape the conversation here in America. And we all know that they have a left-leaning ideology. We can clearly see that across all platforms, and it does need to change.
Let's talk about YouTube. They've come out with a new policy, and it has to do with election-related content. The Google-owned company, YouTube, says that they will censor any account that claims massive fraud or errors in the U.S. election. They write, quote, "We disallow content alleging widespread fraud or errors change the outcome of an historical U.S. presidential election." Jeff, your thoughts on these moves made by YouTube? And does your organization, your platform as well, face this similar censorship?
Well, what YouTube was completely unacceptable. There is active litigation about allegations of election fraud all across the country. It's not some crazy conspiracy theory. YouTube is not being an honest broker. They are acting like a crooked referee making calls for one side. Social media is the modern day town square, and it's not social media's role to decide which issues the public can discuss or suppress one side of the debate. Of course, YouTube is not alone. As you said, Twitter continues to aggressive censorship campaign. They're flagging, any tweet that talks about election fraud. They've even disputed testimony from whistleblowers who shared firsthand accounts of what they witnessed. So election integrity is key to a functioning republic and society. I don't know if there was election fraud, but I do know it's wrong for big tech to silence our right to even ask the questions.
What's interesting, if you go to the president's Instagram feed and you're scrolling through, I think he made a post about Pearl Harbor. There was a little disclaimer about facts about the 2020 election. So it's really on almost every platform. Sometimes it doesn't even have to do with the post at hand. Mark Williams coming back with us here. Have you found an alternative that you're using for social media at this point? Are you getting rid of it altogether? I mean, at this point, based on which outlets and platforms you choose to use, your speech might be restricted.
I mean, I tell you, I would love to some days. Unfortunately, I'm still on the big ones. But what they're doing is completely uncalled for. It's censorship at the highest degree, and I really think it shows a lack of diversity of thought kind of in their ivory towers in Silicon Valley. Maybe if they employed a conservative or someone else from outside the state of California for once, someone could raise their hands internally and say, look, this is a bad idea. You need to stop censoring what 50% of the country really believes. So I think that's the biggest problem with big tech. You know, they've run rampant, and they seem to just want to continue to censor conservatives.
Aaron, where do we go from here? What do you think the future of big tech looks like?
I think it's just going to be more of the same unless we do something about the Communications Decency Act, which I was referring to earlier. What's also really hard about the YouTube situation. Oh, there we are. Thought I lost you guys for a moment. So what's hard about YouTube is that a lot of conservatives make their money there. That is how they function and have a business, and they get demonetized because of their conservative thought. That is also very problematic. This is censorship at the very highest level, and it's only seeming to hurt conservatives. And the people that are saying that this is okay, let's say they're left-leaning, what they should take a break and look at is, wow, do I really want to live in a country that only censors one side? I don't think it's good for anyone in the long run. It's really not.
Yeah, well, we're glad that we're all able to have this open dialogue free of censorship here on this program, on this network, Newsmax. Thanks, guys, for joining us here on National Report. Jeff Brain, Aaron Elmore, Mark Williams. Thank you all. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks.
A chef in California going